There we are. Hello. Welcome back. Transporter Room 3. This week we are discussing Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 3, Episodes 11 and 12. I don't know why I had that in note. I don't know why I said The Next Generation like that, like surprise. That's the only show we've talked about on this, on this show. But who are the we? Well, I am Natalie, also known as Dark Aardvark. You're on my Twitch channel, but you should follow me on Twitter if you don't already. It is the best place to keep up with me and all that I do. But I am not here by myself. I am joined as usual now with Hope and Robin. Anybody want to fight for who does their intro first?
Watching you.
Okay,
I'll do it.
All right.
I was waiting for a jump, but
I knew if I waited long enough, I would win.
Just 1 hour of waiting just 1 hour of waiting for the introductions, and then we just close out.
Almost a full second, Robin. I made it almost a full second.
So, Hope, a little bit about yourself and where we can find you, if you would like to do so.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Hope. You can find me at HopeTracy71 on Twitter. On Monday nights on Milady Saito's channel for Tales of Dree, here on Tuesdays, obviously, and currently for the next several weeks, Friday on Milady Saito's channel for the Four Omens themed game that we were playing, where we're playing the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. We're obnoxiously decadent. We insist on taking baths all in the same room, despite it being inconvenient. And war's got a temper. Who'd have thought? Anyway, so my experience with Star Trek is watching it with my family, as is many people of my age group, all shoved together on the couch, all 5 of us, and later watching it with my bestie in high school, a different bestie than I have now. That's a lot of personal information. Wow. Okay.
I'm rubbing off on you.
I know. I even attended a single Star Trek fan club meeting, and then later on watched enough of it to get the memes. So I'm really enjoying watching Natalie watch this for the first time and getting to discover new things about it from her perspective.
Well, thank you very much, and Robin, same to you.
No, yeah, same to you.
No, yeah. Read between the lines, pal.
My name is Robin. You can find me on Twitter at KaikaC. You can find me on Wednesday nights. In fact, hopefully tomorrow night on Once Upon a Leap, where because of things that another character of mine did, I did a thing, and things are all topsy-turvy now. So yeah, people should definitely tune in tomorrow to see exactly how my Lady Saito is able to reorganize everything and find the appropriate notes binder as the DM of that particular campaign. But you can also find me on my Lady Saito's channel on Thursday nights, at least for a few more weeks, I think, in Azure Kingdom, a campaign run by Anarchy Tony.
Oh, this week we're doing the other one.
Oh, right. This week we're doing the other one, I think. Although
maybe
Thursday night there will be one or the other.
Something's happening.
One of the two. It'll be run by Anarchy Tony, and it'll either be the conclusion of a Christmas one shot, or it'll be Azure Kingdom, which is kind of a high seas adventure where we battle the forces of elemental water. Yar. And you can, I think in a few weeks' time, also find me here on Sunday nights, playing a character that I think has finally come together in my brain. So
excellent.
That's something. But yeah, also tonight, since Hope was sharing personal information, I will share some personal information about Natalie and say that it is her birthday, and so you all should be wishing her a happy birthday.
Thank you very much. It is indeed my birthday. yeah, I mean, that's all I'll say about that. I always forget something at the stop at the top of the show, and I didn't do, well, first of all, yeah, I'm also Wednesday nights. The Queen's returning home to Pristinia, and Once Upon a Leap. Well, I shouldn't say returning home. She's going back as if she never left because of the time jump, but that'll be very interesting and fun to play out. And the whole reason why we're here, you heard Hope say, I'm watching for my first time. I watched the first season of Lower Decks because if it's a cartoon and it's rated Y7 or higher, I'm probably going to give it a try. And fell in love with the characters, knew I was missing jokes, and I wanted to get the jokes. And one of the jokes appears in our first episode tonight, episode 11, The Hunted, and that is censors. The pronunciation of censors.
I was trying to think if there was something else I missed. There probably is. There's, we need to watch. I mean, my roommate and I need to watch Lower Decks again because I feel like there were a whole bunch of very quick cut references that we missed the first time.
I've dug deeper into season 2, but then I started realizing like none of them 3 seasons in, because I watched the first season of Lower Decks before I started watching TNG. And I'm kind of thinking I need to just go back and start that show over. Maybe I'll do it after season 3. I don't know. We'll see.
I may have done a second rewatch of a sci-fi show after finishing it all. I understand that.
Yeah.
Also, since I forgot, Natalie just did her spiel. My history of Star Trek is very similar to Hope's, except for not going to a meeting or a convention or anything of that kind.
But you did drop a bombshell before we started that you could have gotten.
Oh, I could have gotten Deanna Troy's autograph, but I did not.
Don't worry, we'll put
Tamora
Robin in the
Pierce's
after the show tonight.
Well, if we're talking celebrity encounters with Next Generation cast, I will say that I have very thoroughly embarrassed myself in front of Jonathan Frakes while he was just trying to buy a fucking newspaper.
Oh, goodness.
At Mr. Paperback.
Oh. I'm sorry.
I was trying to sell it to him, but I was so flustered.
I'm sure he's probably used to that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean it's any less embarrassing for you. But yeah.
Incoming newspaper, first officer.
Yeah. I think did he say I'd like to buy this newspaper and you were like, make it so?
No, I couldn't run the register.
No, that's
yeah, that sounds like what I would do.
Anyway, so this episode starts off with an awesome establishing shot of the planet that I really appreciate. There's a lot of actually in both of these episodes there's a lot of really good visuals and stuff going on. That's kind of true with all of season 3. We've talked about it earlier in discussing the season, but they really seem to have the first 2 seasons seem to have bought them a bigger budget, and I'm enjoying it. The prime minister guy. So they go to this planet that's wants to join Starfleet. I almost confused the plots of the 2 episodes. Wants to join Starfleet, but they have an escaped. Well, they lead us to believe anyway. It's a convict for quite a while, and the peoples of the I wanted to say country, but that's not accurate. Planet, I guess. The government would cover it. The people of the government didn't have a way to recapture him, so I'm getting ahead of the story. We roughly go in order. We bounce around, and that's okay. But
so I do understand what you mean about the guy being taller than. Like, I didn't get what you were saying.
He is so tall, like.
And I think that like the alien feature, rather than a weird forehead or a weird nose, is that everyone's on average taller than.
They were all pretty tall, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's their alien feature. That's their weird forehead.
Yeah, which I mean, infinite universes, you're gonna have that, like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where it's the planet that they harvest mattresses from. In an infinite universe, you're gonna have stuff like that happen. You had something, Robin?
Oh, I mean, nothing. It was
Oh.
mostly just that it's kind of funny, because to me, like, this guy sounded like he should be, like, the actor sounded like he should be playing like either the neighbor to like a family with some kids that get in trouble, or like an assistant vice principal or something like that.
I don't know the actor's name, but he is a character actor, and he's probably played that role before, so that might be something you're keying into.
Oh yeah, I will note for our audience that I have only watched the first 10 minutes of the first episode.
Ratting yourself out. I wasn't gonna.
I am the bad kid. I will be sitting in the corner in a minute. This is what I understand about this episode.
You were attending to real life and earning your paycheck so you could survive. That is more important than this humble little show. But like, as I mentioned to Hope before it started, I knew he could still provide good insights bouncing off of the Robin and I. Yeah, so I love the setup for this episode. I mean, as spoiler alert, I kind of love this whole episode a lot. It's very interesting that like this whole thing with using the flagship, Starfleet's flagship, to hunt down a escaped convict, and you think, oh well, this is gonna go fast, and it doesn't. It's I loved.
It's a ring around the asteroid.
Yeah, Starfleet had a little bit of egg on it in both of these episodes. Actually, this week gets a little bit of egg on its face, which I love to see. I'm a fan of Starfleet. I'm an ensign after all. You know, I support the team, but it's very fun to see them.
Flounder a bit.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
I mean, I will say one thing I really liked about this episode, as a general thing, although like it really becomes prominent in like the whatever second, third act, is the way that they really leaned into the kind of 80s American action tropes to really get you, I feel like, on Danar, the prisoner's side.
For sure.
Because, you know, like, it totally was like, I feel like they did a really good job with that in this episode. But kind of speaking to that, like, and then having, you know, like Starfleet be kind of like the bumbling government entity that our hero has to like outwit. It was kind of a really fun.
It is delightful. And like the whole business with like Wrecker figures out that he could approximate like a I think it was a cloaking device specifically talked about by being at the poles, as in the, you know, the North Pole or South Pole of the planet. I loved it when
he was right there.
Yeah, it was very cool. And then I laughed because we see the ship bounce off the shields, and then Wesley Crusher says he bounced off the shields.
I mean, I'll be honest. It is always fun with those things because they do sometimes like. I agree that like, why is he saying that? But like, it is nice that it provides a little bit of inadvertent. Audio description
for sure.
Yes.
And every show tends to do that, like over-explain something like this.
It is a funny thing where it's like, I mean, this is useful for me, but I don't really understand why the character feels the need to say what everybody, like in the program could.
Yes.
Clearly see what happened.
Like, I just want, you know, just like, I don't know who would be the one to say it on the.
I think I wanted like a tinge more envy in Wesley's voice. Like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he said it in case like the, you know, however they were filming it wasn't clear or something like that. They wanted.
That's true. Might have just been for safety. And like I said, like you can find examples of like that.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. But
many shows.
It was a funny.
It's still funny though.
And it is a like, does seem very appropriate that Wesley would be the one who would.
And I get explaining it too, like, holy shit, he bounced off the shield. But yeah, anyway, we're move on from that horse. I love we've seen things like this happen before, though I think it's mostly been with like biology and medical things. But they when they're transporting him onto the ship, they detect the weapon and they're able to make it inoperable, which is really cool. But then the dude raises the weapons and they still just shoot him. And it's just like, I mean, I get why you would still make it inoperable.
Well, he was incredibly dangerous unarmed.
Well, they didn't know that.
Well, they didn't know that.
Yeah. They heard he was armed and dangerous. So yeah, being worried about the weapon made sense. But then when he raised the weapon, it's just bad trigger discipline, I think, from the security staff. And
well, and I wonder, like, if, because I agree, like, it's sort of like, why are they doing that? But maybe I don't know, like, maybe it was to point up, or like was the first, I don't know, this, I feel like I'm really reading way too much into it, but like,
that's what we do.
Like later on, you learn that a lot of these guys don't attack if they don't feel threatened, and if this was supposed to be like, if you guys had actually like just
moved to arrest him, probably would have been fine.
Yeah, it probably would have been fine, as opposed to what actually happened.
And I get, that being said, obviously I get that they did it to spark. I just like
Starfleet security officers should be better trained.
Yeah,
Worf would have made a lot more verbal threats before he shot.
Yeah, for sure. But the fight scene is fantastic. Like Robin said, it was very 80s action. Like it was like take it off of a spaceship and put it on like a military vessel, and it could have been what's his name? The guy that was the sheriff, and like he's a sheriff now, or he was the actor dude who was on the. Oh my goodness. Anyway, yeah, it was and that it was fantastic. I also love seeing Worf really be able to get into some like scuffles. It seems like they sort of, for lack of a better term, blue ball him on combat a lot. And this episode and next episode, both he
only gets ritual fights, and it's not fair.
Yes, yeah, or like or for his exercise or something.
It is like I mean, it's, I don't know, it probably says nothing about my civilized development, but it is kind of nice sometimes to see like two really strong people just like
it's pretty great.
Show how strong they are.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's the fun thing about fiction, is you can have those sort of experiences without hopefully like, without physical harm coming to or serious physical harm coming to people. My first reading was, I thought this dude was like on space PCP or something, and that's and like
I mean, well, and I feel like they kind of present it that way, right? I feel
a little bit, yeah,
because he's immune to the
until it's on maximum stun.
Oh, of course.
Which is, I understand like there'd be different like levels of the stun thing. I don't know. Maximum stun was just ridiculous to me.
It is. Well, maybe they switched the they're trying out, because remember the couple episodes ago they had like the settings of like 1 to 11 or whatever it was. And now they've switched to like low stun, maximum stun, kill stun.
Oh goodness. Got yeah.
Oh, there was something that I was thinking of that now I'm oh, well, it is interesting also that you make the sort of the PCP connection, because of course when this came out, at least for Natalie and I feel like PCP being like one of the like scary drug things that they would show you film strips about in school was like,
that's exactly why it popped into my head.
Yeah, it was a thing.
I don't think I lived in a place they probably didn't want to give us ideas.
Yeah, I mean,
But yeah, so maybe the episode was like even, you know,
well, they did mention
in a
that
way
they
that now it wouldn't, like, people wouldn't jump to that conclusion. People who didn't live through
sure.
the late 80s.
And it's not exactly wrong either, because they do mention later in the episode about how they were sure that they could remove the drugs from the people's systems that they put in there, which a drug that stays in forever. That's the future. Why am I calling that out? But so I wasn't exactly wrong. It was just missing the mental programming part. I do think the little detention cell that they had him in, I mean, it looked fine and great. It just looked more like it was Star Wars before it gets beat to hell than like a Star Trek thing, because there was just like so much business going on the back wall, which I get they needed visual interest for, but it just felt more like
they're usually simpler.
Yeah, they're usually, Star Trek is usually much cleaner, both in
like a garage
no
with
grime, but also
door.
simpler. Yeah. But you know, maybe in the designer's mind, all those things had purposes in a jail cell. I don't know. And I don't think it looked bad. It just struck me as a little bit of off-brand. And then I started, as soon as Troy came in and started talking to him, that's where my ooh eyes came in for the roguish scallywag, I guess, for lack of, because I didn't know about the soldier angle this time, so I was thinking like he was a space pirate or something like that.
And we did like our last space pirate.
Yes. We stand the rogues around these parts.
He does show up in a Lower Decks episode. He gets mentioned, name checked.
This dude?
No, the other guy. And later in season 2.
Oh, okay.
So be on the lookout.
Intriguing. Maybe I already watched that episode and I just didn't get it because I hadn't seen this episode.
Oh no, this is the earlier guy, O'Connor, I think that was his name.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't gotten to that part yet then.
Yeah, it gets name checked. Not this guy, unfortunately. I don't think.
Yeah. Which is interesting because. Oh wait. Well, there's kind of a nebulous ending to this one too. Both of these had kind of like up in the air endings. Now that I'm thinking about it. Anyway, I love the use of Troy in this episode. Like, this is kind of perfect Troy use. When she's the first one to go down and interact with him, because she feels pain in the room, and then the line where he says, "What do you feel now?" And then she's like, "The pain was gone." Like, I was like, damn. What's going on? Their interactions were fantastic, as well as his with Data too was fantastic. I loved how much Troy drove in this episode, kind of drove the plot forward. Like we see here after she goes talk to him the first time, she's on the bridge. I think it's the bridge. She's somewhere asking Data, I think, about getting more information on him. Finds out he doesn't have a criminal
because he's going through the like compute, the historical records or whatever they are for their application. And
so I just love seeing. I mean, she's done it before. This isn't the first time that she's kind of taken the reins and driven the plot for a while. But I love to see it because
I like it when she picks up the story.
Yeah, it usually means she's being used well, and we're getting those emotionally feely things, which I think everybody at this table really enjoys out of their storytelling.
I also, though, I mean, I like Data in this episode too. This is like one of the ways that I like Data's character being used is to occupy this sort of liminal space to like think about what, I'm going to use a reductive term in Starfleet, although they use it all the time anyway, but like what humanity means, and him
right at first he's like, no, that we count as life forms as far as sensors are concerned. Androids
Oh,
do.
yeah, he does like that. Yeah, like that.
We are
Nope, that's
detected.
that's not it. But like, but also, yeah, like just him sort of saying like this, like he does not, in my attempts to understand humanity and to become more human-like, like this guy seems, like an ordinary person that is not that has been engineered to do this, like
Yeah, just
it
like
was interesting to see him.
absolutely. According to his the story he tells, like he signed up to help serve his government, which we can all have opinions about. We're not getting into that, but and just for anybody that wants to jump on me, I am a veteran, so but my views on that might surprise you. In fact, maybe they won't, because if you've read this thread, you'll see the tweet where I say I'm really enjoying this episode. Very sharp commentary on how countries tend to chew up and spit out military personnel. We need you when we need you, but then we're ashamed of you when we don't anymore. So maybe think about why you need them. Yeah, Captain Picard puts a nice little button on my thought there, if I can be so bold as to do that, and says he has the line, "A matter of internal security, the age-old cry of the oppressor," which is there's some fantastic writing in both of these episodes this week. And now is where I officially have the sympathy for the soldier man, because I was like, I'd give him a hug and a shuttle to escape at this point in time.
Yeah.
I both love and I'm annoyed by how like the phasers can overload in this episode. Or maybe that's not like maybe there isn't like I don't think there's like a self-destruct button on them, but there is. It didn't seem like he had to like open them up and like rewire or anything. He was able to just like.
No, it's almost like they have a switch and you just like stick them on
like
and don't let them let out the release valve or whatever.
Yeah, like
it's a pretty common MacGyvering sci-fi trick, though. Just like, I guess I don't expect it in Star Trek as much, because they're supposed to actually be engineering their things really carefully.
I think that's why it sort of sticks out to me. I like very much how it's used in this episode. I did think it was kind of funny. There was like Worf gives this whole like command thing over the intercom and then like saunters over to the thing. I mean, he's like moving with some quickness, but like and then I don't know, I was just like, I would have a little more freaking urgency if I was
it never seems like Worf's in a hurry at all.
True. And I mean that tracks and fits with
you gotta look cool while
all of the Worfness. Yeah. But then he's like calmly kneeling down to deal with this thing, and the security officer he has with him is like he's bracing himself, and like, which I mean is a prudent thing to do. It's just funny in the juxtaposition of it being like with Worf just kind of like calmly walking over there, and the other dude is like hiding, like, oh god. And more combat from the guy. I love that we didn't see him, like, we've seen a bunch of fighting from him. We know he's a badass. We love Geordi and he's a badass in his own way, but that's not with the fisticuffs. So there's the shot of Geordi unconscious, leaned up against a console in here, and it just hits so hard. Like his visor's off, he's unconscious, and it's clear he's not dead. And I'm obviously watching it nowadays, we're not worried about that at all. It just hit so hard. I think it's kind of like the thing with like Jaws of you don't see the shark for so long in the movie. Like, it just built, like, we've seen what this guy can do, and now cutting to the shot of Geordi unconscious on the floor, it just kind of hit me harder than it would have if we would have seen him actually get knocked out by the dude, I think.
One thing, this is very random, but I recently listened to a podcast of where they were discussing, remember when they did the movie of Battleship Game?
I forgot that existed.
The movie version of it.
Oh no, I have to see that.
It is apparently very boring and not very good. But the reason why, and this never would have popped into my head, I don't think if I hadn't heard that podcast recently, but like actually I feel like this sort of what's happens in a lot of these, like in this sort of part, is actually a much more fun and interesting way to do kind of a battleship setup, where like they're just calling out random, like these random places on the ship that they think he might be, and they have to
love
like,
this part,
chasing him down, and like I thought it was really great the way they did it, and in a way that I'm sure was fairly low
thrilling
budget in a lot of ways.
Well, yeah, fairly low budget, but it was thrilling, and like I was on the edge of my seat, like watching it, and it's I had, like I said, I love this episode. I think it's very well done.
But kind of playing into that also, like where sometimes you would just see like the aftermath of after he had like in engineering, like you just saw the aftermath of him being there, but you didn't actually like see him, or even with the phaser, right? Like you just see the phaser, but you don't actually see him at all. You just
it's not about him. It's about his skill and his drive.
But
and this episode's great, so it makes sense for taking a long time on it, but we are going a little bit over what I like to do per episode. No, this episode is great, and I'm 1/3 of the people talking.
And eventually the prime minister and
blah blah blah, it ends and it's gone. No, I'm just but it's I love
oh really?
I love how this the confrontation scene, like the 4 come down and the prime minister's like, or like I might be more than 4 of them. It's a small group of them come down, kind of our core peeps, minus Crusher, I think, comes down and just fucking lay into this prime minister. And I loved it. And then when all the, like, speaking of the 80s action movie guys, when they all like drop, like they're dropping in from the ceiling, and they're just popping up and like pointing the guns. I was just I loved it so much. And then Picard and Troy are the ones I remember the most getting in some, like,
Worf does too, which I liked.
Where
Worf, because I think Worf was specifically the one who said, like, did you tell these these soldiers what you were going to do to them? Like,
and just all of them, just one after the other. It's just from their own perspective, and it makes sense why that character's saying it. Just tear down this prime minister, and then they're after Picard does make sure that they don't leave until it's at as stable of a spot as you can get this sort of situation too. And then they're just like, see ya, bitches. Like, deal with it yourself. Well,
he specifically doesn't cite. He's like, this seems to be an internal matter, so we can't get involved.
And then like that little, like, Troy gives this happy little like sigh too, to like kind of punctuate that moment, and loved it. It was fantastic. As my last tweet in this thread says, this episode is Trek at its best, in my humble opinion. Maybe not the best episode of Star Trek ever. I'm not, saying that, but it is.
No, it's really good. I had forgotten how good this episode is, actually. Like, I kind of looked at the plot summary and I vaguely remembered it. I'm like, oh yeah, this episode's okay. But yeah, rewatching it, I was like, this is a really good episode.
For sure. Moving on to another episode that I think is very good for this week. We are blessed this week. I'm going to say it's somehow new. It was a birthday gift to me.
Aww.
From the past.
Happy birthday.
Can I say it?
Yes.
I have the high ground.
There you go. Season 3, episode 12, The High Ground. We start with this one, as I say in the thread, is going to be another episode that hits different in the modern political climate, and I do believe that is true. I don't think I'm exactly like illuminating the world with brilliance. I think that's probably pretty obvious to most people. But we start off. There's a I can't tell if they're like on a little bit of R&R or if they're just like enjoying some local.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think this is like limited R&R.
Yeah, like
time that they like, because I feel like the captain like Picard makes some sort of statement about like, like R&R time or shore leave time has been like curtailed or
something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But which I think is odd. Like I think it's odd that they have. I mean, I guess I don't know why I find it odd, but I find it a little odd that like they have shore leave on like a non-Federation planet.
Yeah, that seems like it
seems
get
a little weird to me.
I think it's definitely a little weird, and I don't think this undercuts the point. But like if you're, because they're thinking these people want to join. I might be conflating the two episodes.
No, I don't think so.
The Starfleet's just helping out with the medical supplies.
Yeah, it's the previous episode is the one where they want to join.
They want to join. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we start off
maybe,
with
but maybe that's just it. Maybe that's it. Like maybe actually that's a good point that even from the beginning it underlines that maybe Starfleet isn't as neutral as they want to believe they are. Like
true, I hadn't thought of that angle.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. Because we do start off with a group: Dr. Crusher, Geordi, Worf, maybe somebody else. They are it looks like enjoying like a nice lunch after dropping off the medicals. I don't know why I think that's funny.
It is kind of funny.
Enjoying a nice
outdoor
lunch
Parisian cafe.
And there's a terrorist attack with an explosion. I start off this tweet thread with "I love Dr. Crusher so much" because she's doing exactly what.
She's
being a cleric-y cleric.
A cleric-y cleric to the clerical max. And
I think the last hint that's really obvious that they're not as neutral as they'd like to be is when Picard's talking about how he got his heart injured.
Oh, I missed.
Where way back when he had to go get it replaced.
Oh yeah,
telling Wesley about.
Oh yeah.
When he was in the cantina essentially, and like there was these aliens who were like they had to be careful around. Like that was kind of the last time it was really implied that they weren't that neutral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the as is pointed out later in this episode by the leader of the we never really get enough of the backstory. Like I know they're denied independence or something like that, which it makes me want to label them more as like the resistance or the rebellion than terrorism. But I mean, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter sort of thing.
Yeah, like the most basic thing that seems to be is it seems like there are two basic continents on this world, an eastern continent and a western continent. And the eastern continent, the people from the eastern continent seem to control the western continent, and people on the western continent don't like that. I mean, that seems to be like the really basic sketched out political situation, I think. But I agree that it's not very clear, and it would be nice. I would have liked more
and
detail on it.
Some of that I think is they're kind of slow rolling it like they did last episode with the guy. Like I'd say like a soft misdirection. Like I think if you're familiar enough with the show, especially by season 3, you're going to know that it's not how it's laid out at the beginning.
You get one hint. You get one hint.
Yeah, one hint.
In the cold open about what's really going on.
Yes.
And the first act is a direct contradiction to the cold open.
That is generally the formula. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. And so Dr. Crusher is I want to say kidnapped, but she's not a child. She's abducted by the terrorists, and we do find out. I was confused as to like why she was taken, but we do find out later that their waiter is part of the resistance. And include them in. I love because I thought it was just the characters in this episode. The resistance people have there's a bunch of like a lot of them are gray streaks, but there's a lot of like gray hair thing going on, and that's based off of how they use nuclear power or vibrations or something. I'm a little unclear on how the technology is supposed to work, but they use that to teleport.
They seem to be able to, like, I think part of it is because, that was another thing that I'm not saying like is good or bad, but like it felt, the teleporting felt like the kind of teleporting you get in comic books.
A little
like
bit.
It really felt very like out of universe, and they, so like, but I know what you mean, like the nuclear vibrations. I don't know if it was supposed to be like it was it like, there's something about the way the atoms are moving that when they shift from place to place, that's what they're reading, I guess.
Like that, yeah.
Something
and
like that.
They needed a way in this future world where teleportation is a thing that can be like easily tracked and scanned, if you have the right equipment, obviously.
Quantum entanglement? Entanglement? Okay. Yeah, so they're doing quantum entanglement.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I get you need a way when the oppressors, I'm just going to make my politics on this episode just flat out known, because why not? When
we read the thread.
Yeah. When the oppressors have teleportation stuff, how can you be an effective guerrilla fighter? Taking it back to, as they do in this episode, to the American Revolutionary War. Like, I'm a million light years away from being a military historian, but I think it's pretty common knowledge that the Americans, for largely, if not totally, throughout the Revolutionary War, used tactics that were rude. There's a very regimented military where they have the lines of soldiers, like, and that's not how. So how do you, they had to kind of do this magical, not magical because they're still using nuclear power, isn't magic. But
no, but and I mean, like, I get why they
and they made it detrimental to the health. Which was a good hook for why that's why they needed to take Dr. Crusher. It made sense to me too once it was explained that it's not because she was Dr. Crusher, it's because she is the doctor on the flagship for Starfleet. So it made them then it made sense to me. But I love just like, she gives, like, she's so the steely, like, deadpan stare she gives this guy for the first couple interactions are fantastic. Like, and then when she's told that she needs to doctor, like, she gives, the best care she can, and I don't know, it's fantastic. One thing I did have a issue with is, like, if you have to explain to Wesley why this situation is what it is, he's not ready to be a part of the crew. Like, if you need to take him aside into your ready room and explain to him why this is happening, not ready. Take him aside to help him deal with the fact that his mother was abducted, yeah, absolutely. But, like, to explain why this situation is working, like, maybe he shouldn't be on the ship if you need to explain this to him.
I don't remember this scene or something, because I don't.
Yeah, it's one of those things that happen. It's they're in the conference room, I think. It's Wesley.
Is it where he, like, asks if he can go down with?
Yes, yeah, that's kind of how that scene ends, I think, if I remember. But we do get the line out of that scene from Picard. I think it's just Picard and Troy at this point in time, but Picard says, "History has shown us that strength may be useless when being faced with terrorism." Which would be nice if American policymakers would remember that. Tweet, anyway. Keeping it light and happy Star Trek talk. The head say that and then I'm gonna dive right back in. The head military lady, on this, like, she had. If it wasn't for her politics, I would absolutely be swooning over her. But when she called them like animals and stuff, like,
Yeah.
she was like, I was a moderate until I came out here and they were attacking me. And I was like, oh, so like you were a moderate when they were just attacking other people, but now that it's you, oh, they're fucking like, oh, give me a fucking break.
Oh,
Yeah,
I can see I'm already gonna be riled up.
yeah. I was like, you are a garbage person, and I am not attracted to you, even though you have the tight bun pulled back and are looking good in a uniform. Anyway, Robin, it saved me.
Yeah, sorry, I got distracted.
That's fine.
I got distracted by the fact that this episode, when it originally aired, was not aired by the BBC or by the rights holder in the Republic of Ireland.
That makes sense, because I was thinking this was very much based off the IRA stuff. It was giving me
and it
that
was specifically because of
vibe.
what Data says later.
Oh, with the 2024 thing?
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, they. I love that they. So what Robin's talking about is Data gives
A list
examples of
mixed
things that have happened in the
fictional
past. Mix
and real
of
things?
fictional and real things, and one of them is, I can't remember exactly, but it was something about how like the Irish
Ireland got reunited
got
in 2024.
reunified in 2024.
Oh, yeah, I can see that not going over well.
I can see that. I'm not
But
saying
as an instance of when terrorism worked, I think was specifically.
Yes.
why-
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. That was an
Yeah.
important missing component to that. So I
I
understand.
mean, it's a
this,
thing that's repeated endlessly right now.
well, yes,
That terrorism is the only way, but yeah.
I understand why this particular example of making up a future event doesn't make people happy. I just like that they mix. Because like when the head freedom fighter dude is talking, he mentions Washington, and I'm like, couldn't you have also mentioned, like, I don't know, when the Bagoop tips like had, I don't know, just fucking give me something like just. I get and I understand and I like that they always like bring up,
Recognizable figures
and stuff, but it would be nice if they would also, because there's like centuries in between it, right? Because they're like
400
and
years.
it's also right, like one of those things where it's like, I mean, I understand, like, I'm trying to think how to put this. It is one of those places where you can sort of see how Star Trek, like as a show and a concept, kind of comes out of like a great books Western canon sort of view of history that is, as I think we've learned to be more, like, at least me, learned to be more aware of how problematic that is.
for sure.
And so sometimes you're like, Washington, really? Do we have to cite like Washington in particular?
I'm fine with it being an example. Anyway.
No, I mean, I know what you mean. Like, it would be nice if it was mixed in with more examples than just that.
The one good thing I will say about the lady I don't like very much that's in charge of this, and it's not really good about her. I love that this military sparkly suspenders, silver sparkly suspenders, are part of the uniform.
I do love suspenders.
That was her first.
That's her
first act as
good thing about her.
Provincial.
The fun thing about clothing is that you can wear it other times.
True.
Like, you don't have to. You can also have sparkly suspenders that aren't part of that uniform.
Oh, I know. I just love that the part of the military uniform is sparkly silver suspenders.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
But no, I agree with you about this lady, that she is. Yeah,
I dislike
she
her
says
so
things
very
that are.
much. I mean,
not.
It's a realistic portrayal of people that exist. but I don't like those people. So there we are. And I love Dr. Crusher. I stan her to the bitter end, but I was annoyed when she made the snide little remark about the safety of the child that was in there and kind of like helping her, like as like a kind of a nurse sort of thing. Like, yeah, she says something really snide about like if you live long enough to see, like implying that like, oh, you're involved in this freedom fight and that's a bad thing. I'm like, woman, where's your underage son again? Remind me.
The literal helm of a starship that goes and fights with people.
Yeah, there's 3 seasons of events that have happened that.
Yeah, no, it was.
He has actually been in danger.
Yeah.
On numerous occasions.
He's in danger later in this episode. Like, we do get the great line. I do not remember the leader guy's name, but we get a great line from him. He turns to Dr. Crusher and says, "Don't you know a dead martyr is worth 10 posturing leaders?" Like, that's one. Like the writing in these 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Oof. So good. Yeah, spies have gray hairs. I started picking up on that. Not that I'm any sort of genius. They were telegraphing it, and I just went to the post office and picked up the communique.
More work than I would have done.
And I definitely would have had different feelings about this conflict if I had watched this episode a decade ago. I would have not been as annoyed by the military lady. I still wouldn't have liked her for calling them animals, but I would have probably forgiven her for that and glossed over things. Anyway, my past shittiness notwithstanding, let me see. Oh, the stakes. This is where we have the part where Data mixes in like the imagined events and why it didn't air in Ireland originally, which I laugh, but it makes absolute sense to me why they would be offended and not want to air it. The stakes are higher because we find out there's a plan for them to blow up the ship, and this is where we get the, they needed their little guerrilla warfare way to do that, even though Wesley and Geordi specifically, but Data too, are finding ways to like track this, their ability to beam aboard, but the leader guy says, he tells Dr. Crusher, because she has no way of doing anything about it, tells that he's planning on blowing up Starfleet's flagship, and how good of a message that will send. And it's gross. Dude's not wrong either.
But he kind of is. Like, that's the thing.
Well, he's not wrong about it having a big impact.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's a good course of action. Yeah.
On them, it's going to have a big impact on them.
Yes. I was like, that is one hornet's nest I would not want to kick up if I was in his position. But I also haven't been fighting a war that's been going on for 70 years.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, it's true, but at the same time, like, I feel like the end of the episode shows like how massively he kind of miscalculated in a lot of ways. Like, yeah, which is, I don't know, one of the weird things about this episode to me.
A little bit, yeah. A little bright spot before we get back into the Troy's wearing the teal dress. Every time I see it, I get closer and closer to making it. I think. I don't know. I don't if it keeps coming up. Like I think Robin said it does.
Oh yeah. Oh, like that's the dress I think of her in.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I might be going fabric shopping and getting back into sewing at some point in time.
Oh, look great on you.
Thank you. I love in this one. There's the invasion of the bridge, like I've kind of been talking about, where we've had people that intend harm upon the crew and the ship just appear on the bridge before, but this one feels like a real violation. I think maybe because we've had that conversation with Dr. Crusher and the guy. It's like, and we know what the plan is. And in the go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I was going to say, like, I actually feel like, I mean, I feel like this is another reason why they did the they had the dimensional shift thing, like, because I feel like that's actually one thing this episode does really well, is showing how frightening it is when you actually have like an enemy that can come just pop up out of nowhere all the time, and you have no idea where they're coming from or where they're going to go to, and it, like it makes, for those of us playing D&D, it makes you remember how like frightening Misty Step really can be if you use it.
For sure.
You use it really well.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like you bang, you're there, and bang, you're gone. And I think there was something that, yeah, like the way they were able to sort of just appear on the bridge without any like transporteriness or anything like that somehow made it seem much more frightening than.
Oh yeah, because we've had other transporter effects from different technologies.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is much more like magic.
Yeah.
It is very much has kind of that flair.
But yeah, no. So I mean, I was agreeing with you though that there was something I feel like a lot more like anxiety producing about the way they were jumping, all like not just on the bridge but just all over the ship, like jumping from one place to another, and like they couldn't figure out where they were or where they were going or anything. Like, I think it did really heighten the tension in a way that I thought was
for sure
well done.
And then and then like when you think they're done too, there's another group that I think it happens like 3 or 4 times, like another group pops in real fast. Thank you, the Maharishi, for the subscription. Thank you very much. Very much appreciated, as are your comments, no matter how pithy or chaos spreading inducing they are intended to be. Because he did say Deep Space Nine has a better story arc than TNG. Which, hey, yeah, I haven't seen Deep Space Nine. I might very well agree with you when I get there. Well, back onto the ship. Picard gets captured, which is fantastic. But it's after he throws a pretty impressive hook. Right, I think it's a right hook. Pretty impressive right hook. And he's kind of subduing the person, but then they get transported back to their HQ, and he goes with them. Which might also be part of why it, another reason why it feels like a real violation this time is because, the highest ranking person on the ship is taken. Let me see. Oh, it's just really good nonverbal facial acting from both Gates and Marina. That's why I was saying. Thank you. I don't know why. She's just Troy in my head. I don't know why I can't remember her real name. I feel really bad. Yeah, they both give great nonverbal performances.
It's the feet. Now that you've seen her feet in character, you can't see her as an actor.
Sure. There's an interchange between Crusher and Picard when they're both captives, and it starts off how you'd expect it, and it kind of builds up in this tension until they're yelling, not screaming at each other, but kind of yelling and getting a little heated, and then they both kind of like catch themselves, and this is where it's like really rewarding to have. Well, I guess it's only 2 seasons because Dr. Crusher wasn't there for a season, but how they have built this history between the 2 characters, and it makes their nonverbal shorthand like work and understand, because they give this look to each other that and let themselves sit in the silence after getting so heated that it's clear that they're apologizing to each other, like without saying it. Like each of them's like, I went too far, I'm sorry. Like they don't need to see it, and that's love it. Let me see. Oh, I got mad at the freedom fighter dude when he told Dr. Crusher she's never known real fear. I'm like, you don't know shit, dude. She's the chief medical officer on the premier flagship of the Starfleet. I'm sure she's seen like some shit.
Yeah,
Do we need to really get our dicks out and fucking measure them?
I don't even think this is her first trip to the abduction rodeo.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't.
Abduction rodeo.
I'll be
I hate
honest.
that place.
Like I
Sorry.
I'll be honest. I don't know if it was the actor or the writing, but I did not love the way Carol Finn is his name, the leader of the Resistance.
Yeah, there we go. Finn
came across. Like I don't.
It was really hit or miss.
Yeah,
me.
like there were. It was just he was, and like I get that they were trying to make him seem rough and tumble, but like I feel like they zagged in some weird directions that made him very hard to sympathize with.
Kind of like how they handle not Picard, Riker sometimes, who I also feel has that sort of thing in this episode, especially when he's in the interrogation, in this episode when he's in the interrogation room.
Yeah,
with the lady.
Well, and then he also makes the decision that I think we're just about to get to, that I feel like was like, to me, was really a move that I was like completely disagreed with him and Starfleet on, which is that, and I realized they were doing it partially so they had the numbers, but like when they beam down into the Resistance cave, the fact that they actually bring the security people with them, I was like, this is not, like, you've definitely picked a side now, like.
For sure. There's that too. And I also, you're absolutely correct, but I was headcanoning that they sort of probably had to do it because of like Prime Directive, and not, like they're able, the Starfleet people are able to be boots on the ground there because the captain and Dr. Crusher are there. But they couldn't, because it's an internal, the internal matter sort of thing. Again, they couldn't leave them out, but yes, it definitely signaled the exact opposite things that they should have wanted to be signaling at that point in time. And just the rotten cherry on top of the hating this lady sundae is that she shoots the leader guy in the back. Does she have a valid point about how if he was a prisoner, it would incite like more violence because the people would be trying to rescue him? Absolutely. Like, but if you want to be the good guys, you can't shoot your opponent in the back. Like,
it's a duel at sunset or nothing.
Yes, exactly. And like, as pointed out, he had the opportunity to shoot and he didn't. Like, that could have been the beginning of some peace talks. Maybe they would have fallen apart and not worked. Maybe, who knows? But she didn't give the chance. And then felt kind of smug about it. Which isn't fitting. It's very much in line with that type of character.
It's like the people who are like, well, those people have the right to protest, but they shouldn't be stopping traffic.
Yeah, very much.
That's what I'm hearing from you.
I supported them until I was late to work. That's the blonde lady. That's the military. Yeah. Go ahead, Rob.
Oh, I don't know. I was going to say some summation things, since we're probably getting pretty close to
you can absolutely say your summation things, because you are correct.
I mean, and they're related to what you were just saying, so like it's not, but it felt like a good place to segue into.
Sure.
I didn't really love this episode. And in some ways I feel like I may not have noted, or the flaws in it, or at least what didn't work for me in it, may not have been as apparent if it hadn't followed the episode we just saw.
Yeah. I can see that.
But like, I feel like a couple things, like I mean, I agree with you about the military governor lady, provincial governor lady, where I don't like her. She's the bad guy in my book. But I don't know that, like, if we were watching this in whenever it was, 89 or 90, I think we were supposed to be more sympathetic to her than I think
Absolutely. And I
would be.
I mean, maybe not then just because of how old I was, but like watching it even a decade ago, I would have been more and even like taking it, like going back to 2000, the year 2000, I would have been much more sympathetic for the blonde-haired leader lady than I am now. I still would have had still wouldn't have liked her shooting him in the back, but
yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess, like, it I don't know, it partially gets at, like, to me this episode falls into the trap that sometimes Star Trek falls into, and I feel like sometimes, I know you love these episodes, the Prime Directive episodes, but I feel like sometimes the Prime Directive episodes in particular fall into, even though this wasn't really a Prime Directive episode, but where, like, some of the discussions start to feel very academic. Just a little, and even though, like, Crusher gets captured and Picard gets captured, and, like, they're on the ship, there's something very outsidery about the way that we're viewing what happens here. And, like, that makes it not as effective to me, I guess. And I think, like, part of the reason why I maybe noticed it more was because, like, in the last episode, where I feel like they do a really good job of, like, bringing you into this one super soldier guy's point of view. Like, I feel like they do a really great job in that episode of doing that, whereas here, like, throughout the episode, I still felt like I was an outsider looking at this conflict and being like, oh yes, what are the moral ramifications of X, Y, and Z? And I don't know, like, I guess I'm just, it feels too much like I'm in a college lounge.
No, I totally understand that. I like the episodes where the Prime Directive is a conflict or an obstacle for Starfleet, but I can totally see how it starts, and it can get like.
I like it when it's a puzzle, when the right action is really clear, but it violates the Prime Directive, and they find a way around it.
Yeah, I like those. I tend to like those a lot.
And that's, I guess that's more what I'm. Yeah. What I like about the.
Prime I didn't mean to put, like.
Yeah. No, I just
likes and dislikes, but it's just one, like, where I just, like, I feel like that's kind of what didn't work, is, like, occasionally, like, it was like they were trying to. I feel like they were trying too hard to have
both sides.
Yep, have all the sides.
Yeah,
yeah. Exactly.
I loved the last episode. I didn't love this episode. I thought it was decent. I think something that saves it from going down too far of the path that you're mentioning is that they don't save the day in the end. There's still the conflict is still going on, and I like seeing that they can't always swoop in and save the day after they have a nice little lunch at a cafe. So,
that is a good a good point, and I agree with, like, I too also, like, I think if maybe there had been more detailed backstory about things, it would have.
Yeah, they kept it really kind of wishy-washy as to what the situation was, and it hurt the episode, I think.
I feel like I think the other thing too, and I don't know if Hope will agree with me, but I feel like there are some episodes, much like in seasons 5, 6, and 7, when we get more into the Cardassian Bajoran conflict, that do some of what this episode is reaching for better, and I think that might be also kind of influencing my opinion of it. So, like,
sure, that'll be interesting to get there.
Yeah.
Which we're almost halfway. I mean, we are actually exactly halfway through this season, so we're getting close. But that is gonna do it for us this week. We're at an hour 14 coming up on it. Oh my gosh, I know. I like keeping. It's okay. I'm not panicking. I do like to keep these to, like, a more tight. I mean, we got started a little.
We had a lot of intro time.
We did have a lot of
chop it off the front.
That's true.
I mean, if you hadn't insisted on a 45-minute birthday poem to your greatness, Natalie.
I mean, if you wouldn't have wasted literally a second of our time making Hope introduce himself first, we would. Anyway, that will do it for us this week. Watch us bicker and talk about playfully bicker and talk about
Oh, our characters bicker. Watch us somewhere else too.
more Star Trek next week. Hope to see you there, and hope to see you following Hope on Twitter at Hope Tracy 71 and Robin at Kaika C on the Twitter, and me dark_aardvark at Twitter. But until next week, okay, bye-bye.
Bye.